Hi guys, it's Lily,
And this is Clover.
and
All the tea we cannot sip.
welcome back to another evening of sitting with me tonight, Clover, to try to sip all this tea.
Yes, I'm excited after our last podcast. I did have to rewatch Desperate Housewives, so I'm almost done with season one because we were talking about it and I just had that craving. And I'm going to start the Holocaust miniseries that you recommended this weekend.
It is really good.
It
And
looks
I
good.
and I actually have an update. The last one, I said the last movie I saw in theaters was in 2017. I went to the movies this weekend.
Woohoo! Round of applause.
Yay!
What'd you see?
I saw The Whale, the new Brendan Fraser movie. Sobbed. It was so good, but so sad. It's one of those movies I don't know if I can watch again, but it was
Oh,
so good.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you said it was so good, and the trailers look amazing. So I kind of want to see it in the theaters, but I'm also afraid that I'm going to make a fool of myself crying.
I definitely did, but luckily we went to an early afternoon Sunday showing and there weren't that many people.
Mm-hmm.
And it has been in theaters for a while, so there aren't that many showings. I think people have already seen it. It's been nominated for the awards, but I was sobbing. My husband even cried, and
Oh,
yeah, it was so good though. So I'd want to go to more movies if more good movies come out, but all the other ones I was like, I don't want to see that. But I think the Ant-Man and the Wasp, that one looks pretty good because I do like Paul Rudd.
well, good. I'm glad that you broke your dry spell and went back to the movies and that it was such a good one. It wasn't disappointing.
It was so good. If you haven't seen The Whale, go see it. It's so good. It's so moving. It touches on a lot of aspects that are relevant to a lot of people's lives, I think. And it just makes you think and reevaluate, and in my case, sob. I was
Oh.
I did the it's so sad at the end. It was I just like couldn't be consoled, but in a good way because it's supposed to do that. I think
Mm-hmm.
some movies are supposed to make you feel that way, and also I don't see a lot of movies that win awards. I talked about liking The Ridiculous Six last time, so this time I saw a movie that has won awards, will win more. Award season just starting, so
That's awesome. I'm definitely going to need to see it.
yes.
I
Bring
haven't been
some
doing,
tissues.
oh, I will, and I will not wear mascara.
Yes, I did not either.
I haven't been doing too much this week. I just feel like I have a lot of life changes going on and it's been kind of stressful. And one way that I deal with stress is my midnight snacks. And my husband's very sweet about it when I'm crunching next to him in bed. But Saturday morning, I woke up and it was still dark out. I went to the bathroom and I thought my dog shit all over me because I had dried brown stuff on my shirt and I was freaking out like all the lights weren't on and I was scared to smell it. I just fell asleep on a piece of chocolate. And my body heat melted it while I slept and it was all over my sheets and my clothes and I thought it was poop.
Who hasn't done that?
It was
I've done that.
it was a first for me.
Remember when you were at my house? I was like, don't use that pillow. I fell asleep with Skittles in my mouth. So we've all been
Oh,
there.
well, I'm more pissed. It was good chocolate.
Yeah. I'm like, I would have eaten that.
Exactly. And now it's ruined.
Oh,
Oh,
well, I think we both thought last week we did movies and some television. This week, I think we should dedicate our time to music.
yes, we love music. Music has always been a big part of our friendship, and we've spent countless hours just sitting on our bedroom floors listening to full albums over and over again. We
Yes.
could say the Slim Shady LP verbatim.
And the Eminem show.
Yep.
That was a big one.
Trapped in the
Love those.
Closet, R. Kelly, all of those.
Yes. I still have Trapped in the Closet on my phone that I bought over 10 years ago on iTunes. And it's a masterpiece
It's an
still.
underrated masterpiece. It is.
It is. And I feel like I've heard people talk about being invested in artists and people. I was never that invested in R. Kelly as a person.
No.
So it's easy for me to separate his music from the things he's done because I
Mm.
never cared about who he was.
Like it would be harder if it was Louis Tomlinson, right? Because
Yes.
you do have more of a connection and care more about his personal life. But yeah, I agree. R. Kelly has a lot of good songs, and I'm not going to stop listening to him just because he's a piece of crap, and he's where he deserves to be.
Yeah, and he already got my money 10 years ago, so I can't take that
Exactly.
back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like I'm paying per listen because I bought it. And
Yes.
it's nobody has done anything since or before Trapped in the Closet.
It was like a hip hop opera.
It was like the soap operas you watch on TV, it was the drama, and I will always say, well, I can't sing it, but
What the F is this? A condom in my bed.
you better start talking,
Beep.
bitch. Yes. I mean, I don't think that's enough to get copyrighted.
No,
Not at
no,
all.
not the way
No.
we sing.
But before all of R. Kelly, Eminem, what was your first CD that you bought? Or somebody bought for you?
So, two different answers. And the first CD I ever got pisses me off because someone gave it to me. And the first CD I ever bought, I liked. So, the first CD I ever got, my extended family must have heard that my dad and grandma were getting me a CD player that Christmas, which was a big deal because I had never had a CD player before. So, one of my great aunts got me the Prince of Egypt soundtrack.
I remembered that right before you said it. And that is hilarious because your family is not religious.
We are not religious.
You never have been.
And it pisses, CDs weren't cheap back then. They cost more money than cassettes. Cassettes were still being made and albums would come out on both. And the CDs were like six, seven more dollars. So either they got that CD for free and were being cheap, giving it to me as a gift, or they actually spent their money on it, which means they do not know me at all. But I was so excited. I had never had a CD before. I never had a CD player. And until I had the money to buy more CDs, I listened to that thing front to back over and over, which is
It
so
still
sad.
cracks me up.
And but the first CD I ever bought, I am not sorry about. And I remember distinctly only having like $15 and the CD was 12 and the cassette was 7 and it was such a hard decision. I stood there in Kmart forever. Should I buy the cassette or the CD? But I went with the CD and it was Britney Spears' Baby One More Time.
Oh, that's such a classic. Iconic.
Yes. Really? Did we have any business listening to that music in elementary school? No.
No.
Now I see how Britney Spears was an essential part of sexualizing our generation and turning us into hoes, but I'm here for it.
I do believe that because when we were in high school, a lot of music was about S and the D.
Yeah, a lot. It got worse the older we got.
Yes, it did. But even when we were young, because I remember, do you remember the British boy band Five? They were on the
Yes.
Disney. I had that CD, and that was not appropriate either. It was talking about baby when the lights go out.
I'll show you what it's all about.
Yes. So
Yes. Well,
it
and then
down.
in sync, Digital Get Down was totally about having cyber sex.
Yeah. when cybersex
which
was
we were
first
doing,
big.
right?
Yeah. Like we were just doing it together, giggling, thinking we were being not, we were,
Getting some creep off.
yeah, ugh, I don't even want to think about it. But it was fun because we would laugh so hard.
Oh, yes.
It was,
We should do that again just for shits and giggles.
I know last time you came to visit me, we had talked about going on Omegle or a similar
Mm-hmm.
thing. I think we should because that's
I do too.
hilarious.
When
Um,
you visit, I think we're definitely gonna have to do maybe a live podcast, or if
yes,
not live, at least we'll record it together.
yes, we should because I was already married by the time Chat Roulette and Omegle got big
Mm-hmm.
because I got married young. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't regret not being able to get on Chat Roulette, but I know I definitely would have been my jam if I hadn't been married because chat rooms were cool when we were, even up
Yeah.
until high school, chat rooms were cool.
Mm-hmm.
And
So what was your first CD?
my first CD was actually given to me by my cousin. My cousins were quite a bit older than me at the time. Now it doesn't seem so weird, but I think my male cousin had gotten this and didn't know what it was, and so he gave it to me. But it was Hanson,
Oh,
the Mbop CD, and I loved it so much. I had it forever. I
that's a
loved it.
really good first CD.
Yes, I also had some Disney soundtracks from when I was little. I had the Little Mermaid soundtrack, and I had the Lion King soundtrack from the actual movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I even played the Little Mermaid soundtrack for my son when he was a baby. That's how long I had
Oh,
it. I have a little video of him being a little baby in a little turtle onesie with Under the Sea playing in the background.
that is so sweet.
Yes, but Hanson, I loved it. I was a Taylor girl myself.
Same.
Yes, the middle child.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he was the best. Now I can do without long hair, but they don't have long hair, so it's okay.
Yep. And
And
they still look good. I've seen them recently.
yeah, one of them has a lot of kids now. I think Taylor does.
Yeah. I don't know if they're like a very religious family, but I got that impression even when they were touring. Like they must have a serious stage mom.
Yes. And the first CD I remember actually buying myself was 50 Cent Get Rich or Die Tryin'.
Love it.
And I
But
had
that's
to,
a big gap in between there. People must have been buying you a lot of CDs.
well, we were poor, but like tax time, my mom would get me stuff, you know.
Yes,
But
right?
I even had to go get my mom at Fred Meyer because they wouldn't sell me Get Rich or Die Tryin' because it was parental advisory and I was in middle school.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and my mom had to come say like, okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't want to say so many CDs, but I did. We had a friend in elementary school that I would, trade with and borrow.
Mm-hmm.
But I had Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys, NSYNC.
Mm-hmm.
Those were all the best. I still have my NSYNC CD.
Me too. I think it's scratched, but I just can't throw it away.
I know
And remember, like, we would have those cases that zipped up and you could hold all your CDs. And if you took that to school, you were cool.
I know. And I still have some that have my name written on them. I have a mix that you made me when my first boyfriend broke up with me. I
Oh,
still
oh
have
my
that CD too.
gosh. I wonder what's on it.
I remember Concrete Angel is on it. It's a bunch of
Oh,
sad
it
songs.
was sad songs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was hoping you would just cry it out. They
And
weren't even all breakup songs, they were just sad.
yeah. That's why I can't. I have CDs like that I burned in 2004. That's almost 20 years ago. We need to break those babies out.
Right? I know I still have CDs that boys made me. And um, our friend from Spain,
Yes.
I still have one she made me in high school.
Oh.
I know. It definitely had a lot of Hillary Duff on it because even though she pretended to be punk and dressed like she was a punk and shaved her head and she loved Hillary Duff secretly.
And she let us know that. She couldn't let her punk friends know that.
I
And
remember telling her because Hillary Duff was coming to the local fair and the tickets were cheap. Like even us poor kids could have afforded it. And I told her we should go together and she couldn't. She was turned red at even the suggestion.
oh. Yeah, I have the CD that my first boyfriend made me still.
Oh,
Yeah.
that
And
is cute.
I have one from friends from when I moved, an hour away and went to a different school. I have CDs from those friends. It's just
Hmm.
music brings people together.
It does. And making, I mean, before CDs, it was mixtapes, right? But making like a mix for somebody is an act of love.
It is because we still do it now. We've done it in the past couple years for each other, and it's
Yep.
showing a person you care about something that really speaks to you, and that's so
Hmm.
special.
It is. So to continue on, what was the last album you bought?
It had actually I bought the new Louis album that came
Hmm.
out on vinyl.
Love it.
Faith in the Future. The last digital one I bought was um when they released Sorry for the Wait by Lil Wayne. It came out a long time ago, but they just released it on iTunes last year, so I bought that
That's awesome.
because I think one of my favorite albums of all time is I Am Not a Human Being too by Lil Wayne.
Oh, it's
Love
so
it.
funny that you love Louis Tomlinson, but you love Lil Wayne just as much, and they couldn't be more different.
I know. I would carry them both off into the sunset. I am taller than both of them. There, we are gonna walk off into the sunset someday, but I will be carrying them because I my feet would be dragging on the ground.
I'd watch that reality show.
Yes. I just need a reality show where I get to date all these different types of guys that I'm into, because that would be interesting. I think, Lil Wayne, Louis Tomlinson,
Celebrity
Alexander.
brother husbands.
Yes, I love Alexander Skarsgård. He's so different from them. Eric from True Blood, blonde hair.
Oh, yes. I always forget his name.
Yes. Tarzan. He was Tarzan too.
He could carry all three of
Yeah.
you.
Someday I'm gonna feel my oats.
Oh, see, I don't really care that much about abs and stuff like that, but I love guys with big arm muscles. And when I think of him, I just think of his arms.
Yes.
Oh,
But also,
wrapped
I need
around me.
attention. I don't want
What?
somebody. I said I need attention. I don't like if somebody like The Rock or I know like I've heard Mark Wahlberg works out a lot. That would
Mm-hmm.
annoy me because I'm like, cuddle me
Well,
in bed at 4 a.m. Don't get up to work out.
you just need like a special hammock or something so that when they're laying on the bench, you're reading a book above them or something, they can they can smack your butt and give you attention while still working out.
Yes, exactly. Because working out is not my vibe. So I can be there, but don't expect me to squat. I work 40 hours on my feet all week. I don't want to I don't want to work out. I
Right.
should, but I don't want to. What was the last album you bought?
So mine was actually very recently. I wasn't planning to purchase this, so it's not a cooler answer, but I love the video game Stardew Valley. And it's a game I never would have played, except your brother recommended it to me. And he described it as a farming simulation, which in all honesty sounded so boring to me, but I kept seeing it on TikTok and it had really good reviews. And it ended up being on sale for $15 digitally on the Switch. So I bought it and I was obsessed. Like you inherit this farm from your grandfather, and there's just all these adventures you can go on, and you develop different relationships with the townspeople, and you can even marry one and have kids and like build your home. So it kind of reminded me of Sims, and it's just so relaxing. Like I can just zone out and everything is perfect here. The worst thing that's going to happen is my crop isn't going to grow, or someone's not going to like a gift I give them, but it's so much fun. And they have a beautiful set of albums that have the complete soundtrack on it. Oh, and another reason I like this game, I just have to shout out the creator who goes by Concerned Ape. Um, but he's from Washington and went to the same college as me, just a different year. He went to the Tacoma one though, and I went to Seattle. And he started developing this game himself. It took him 4 years. He did all of the art, all of the music, all of the coding. He started making the game to teach himself this coding so that he could put it on a job application, not knowing how popular it would become. Like he's made millions now. So I just really admire him for that too, and like supporting him in that way. But the albums, each one is a different season. So the cover art is really beautiful, and the albums are different colors. Like the winter one is white and blue, the fall one is orange. It's just a beautiful album set, and it's been sold out for months. I've been on a waiting list, and last Friday, I got an email that it was being restocked, and how they were handling it was my link to buy it would work for 3 days. So I wasn't planning on spending $90 on albums last week, but I was doing it while my husband was sleeping because
I
I know it's going to sell out again, and I've waited this long. So it shipped yesterday. I haven't gotten it yet, but I'm really excited because it's just relaxing background music that I'll play all the time.
That's really cool. I have
Mm-hmm.
never heard of this game. My my brother doesn't share games with me as much because he knows I won't play them, but you definitely are very good about looking into things and trying them if they come available for a reasonable price. I know you
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't have paid full price at the time because
Mm-hmm.
it sounded boring, but I'm
Right.
glad you did.
Me
So,
too. It's honestly one of my favorite games. He's working on another one right now, and I know it's going to take years to come out, but I'm going to buy it. I just love Stardew Valley. So I'm really excited about that.
oh, that sounds cool. I know I keep
Yeah.
looking at out like vinyls because I want to grow my collection. I saw the Forrest Gump soundtrack at Best Buy when I was getting my phone fixed,
Oh,
and I was like, I want that so bad. It was like
oh,
$35, and I was like, I can't because I have to spend this money on my phone.
right.
But it's definitely on my wish list
That's a
now.
really good soundtrack. You should check out thrift stores. I've
Yeah,
gotten a lot of the albums you find there are stupid ones that you wouldn't buy anyway. But I've gotten some really good ones. I got the Grease soundtrack at Goodwill for $1. I got the best of Elton John, the Never Ending Story soundtrack. I've gotten some good ones.
yeah,
You
the
might
Grease
get
soundtrack
lucky.
is good. Yeah, I remember when I lived in that yellow house, I had the Grease soundtrack when we lived there.
Yes, we watched Grease a lot.
It was good.
And I didn't know that's what a musical was.
I
So I
know.
thought I had never seen a musical before when I was in high school, but I was like, oh wait, Grease is a musical, and so are all these Disney movies.
Yeah, they are. And I think musicals are just fun. Some I don't really, di you know, dig, but some are really, really good. But that's
Mm-hmm.
with anything. You're not gonna like everything of everything.
Right.
You can like one or two things of something and still be a fan. I hate when people gatekeep things and they're like, "Oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know this." I'm like, "It doesn't matter."
No.
But do you know those people?
Yes.
It just I'm like, it doesn't matter that much. Like, I like so many things, and a lot of things consume my time.
Mm-hmm. And it's a
So,
lot to keep in your brain.
yes.
I was gonna say that music just holds so many like memories for us too. And I'm sure you know the first song you danced with someone to.
It was at a middle school dance. I was in seventh grade. I danced with my friend at the time's little brother, arms length apart, like two Maroon Fives. She will be loved.
Oh, I love that song. That's a good one.
Yeah.
You remember his name? You can say the first name.
His name was Eli.
Eli.
Yeah.
I
And I
wonder
think
if
that's
he
the
hears that song and thinks about you.
that was the only time I danced with a boy until I had a boyfriend, like my sophomore year. Like never danced with
Mm-hmm.
a boy again.
You're like, I'm done.
No,
I didn't like
no,
it.
I don't know. I was a lot taller than a lot of boys in middle
Mm-hmm.
school and freshman year. I'm still taller than my husband now, but
Mm-hmm.
some men are intimidated by that. Most men shouldn't be in their 30s. But when
And
you're
there are a lot of men who love when women are taller than them also.
Yes, but when you're going through puberty, you aren't necessarily attracted to people taller than you if you're a boy. At least I
That's
think,
true.
because I feel like I got prettier as I got older, but
Mm-hmm.
I was a little awkward in every middle schooler is awkward.
Oh, so awkward. I would not do middle school over again.
Or high school. Some people love high school. Not me. I mean, I have good
Yeah,
memories, but I wouldn't go back.
I don't know. I feel like it depends. Like if we could go back with the knowledge we know now, like we
Yeah,
would kill it at high school.
I know. I was thinking that. I'm like, I don't want to go through all that shit again. But if
Mm-hmm.
I know the stuff I know now and how to handle people and handle
Mm-hmm.
myself and my emotions, and
Yes.
it would be a lot different. But I feel like it it was a good time, but it wasn't a great time.
Yeah.
So I don't need to relive it.
Yeah. Yeah. If I had to relive it and I couldn't change anything, that would be hell.
Yes,
It's
especially
hard being a teenager.
yes. Or what if you had to relive it and know what you know now, but you still couldn't change anything?
Yeah, that literally sounds like the definition of hell.
It does, which I had a dream like that I told you about where we went back in time. It was crazy, but we were trying to get back to the future.
Thank
Another
goodness.
great soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Classic movies.
Yes. And what
Yeah,
was your first concert?
well, I just want to say the first song I danced to a boy with
Oh,
first,
okay. Yeah.
because
Okay.
I do still hear this song and think about him. It, he wasn't even my boyfriend or anything. We gave each other stuff on Valentine's Day and we danced at dances. And I remember this was in seventh grade also. He asked me out on a date once to meet him at the mall, and I knew my dad would like flip his shit. And so I told him I couldn't, and like it was awkward after that, and nothing ever happened. So it makes me kind of sad. But it was Usher, You Got It Bad. When you feel your body, you find somebody who you
Usher
wanna
was
hold.
so great in the early 2000s.
Yes.
I can't even put into words how
Yeah, and
how
classic. That is a
iconic.
classic song.
Yes,
It's so good for your first dance with a boy.
it is. It uh it is such a good song. I'm sorry it got weird, but also I don't blame your dad because you were in seventh grade.
I know. And I was comparing myself to my friends who were given BJs in seventh grade. So I thought I was really behind, but now I realize that I wasn't mature enough for a boyfriend.
I know. And then to feel pressure to do that because everyone else is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
yeah,
my
being a
God.
kid is hard.
Yeah, I remember writing in my diary because there was this other girl who was a year older than us and had the same name as me. And like she would come to school with hickeys and bragging about how she gave this guy who I actually had a crush on a BJ. And I wrote about it in my diary. And my freaking little brother took my diary and read it. and then was trying to tell my grandma she wrote about giving a boy a BJ in her diary. And I said, why would I write about myself in third person? I put her name. I would have said me or I. Dumbass. Oh, I was pissed. And I was so afraid she was going to read it. I threw my diary out the window.
That my brother did something similar to me. I remember hearing about some boys that we went to elementary school with talking about in 5th grade getting BJs. And I
What
wrote in
the
my
hell?
yeah, I wrote in my diary about, it makes me think. And so my brother would just walk around and she's like, she's writing out about boys that make her think.
Oh,
and
God.
and I was so mortified. Like, my brother has the loudest voice in the world. And he would say it to everyone.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes.
That is
Oh.
terrible. Brothers.
Oh, can't live with him, can't live without him.
No.
Oh, because, you know, I did blame that porn thing on him.
That's true. See podcast number 3 if you don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, some great stories there too. Oh,
But to answer your question, my first concert was actually in sync. It I was way too young to be going to a concert, so my grandma took me, bless her heart, because she didn't give a damn about that music. I'm pretty sure she had a Harlequin romance book with her.
your
Sitting
grandma
down.
would read a book in a concert.
Yes, yes. And I remember leaving and I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't even hear myself talk.
Oh.
It was good. It was good.
Oh. Well,
I loved me a ramen headed Justin Timberlake. I was positive I was going to turn 18 and marry him.
you loved curly-headed ramen head Justin Timberlake. I was a JC girl, which worked perfectly for our friendship.
It did because there would have been rivalry. And
Yes.
I remember my other BFF, Sarah, liked Chris, which was a very unique choice, but she's a unique person. So it was all good. Nobody liked Joey, though. Nobody liked Joey.
Oh my God. Poor Joey, but no, nobody liked Joey.
But now I think he looks good. Now I would hang out with, I was gonna say something dirty, but we shouldn't. I guess it's not okay for women to sexualize men either. But yeah, he looks good.
Yeah, and we didn't like the same members of Backstreet Boys either.
Nope.
And my first concert, you know this, we went together, Britney Spears.
That was your first concert? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh,
And my mom took us in her minivan. It was so great. It was so much fun.
I
I
remember I wore my white pants, which were my special occasion pants, and my little my pink fuzzy butterfly purse from Claire's.
yes. I have pictures of it still of us outside your house getting ready to go to the concert.
That was so much fun.
Yes. I wore like a sweater. It was a sweater tank top, but a turtleneck, but had no sleeves.
Oh no.
This was very, very early 2000s.
Yeah,
Like 2001,
yeah, I was
2002.
gonna say, if
Uh,
not the 90s.
Yeah, like, and I
And you
was
had
wearing,
butterfly clips, I think.
yes, and I was wearing a black and white, like, kind of like bomber jacket that was kind of puffy.
Mm-hmm.
Felt so cool.
So cool. Yeah, that was fun. And I remember it was a school night,
Oh,
which
which
was a big deal that we got to go.
it was, which concerts usually are during the week, which is weird to me.
Mm-hmm. All right. So we talked about the first song we danced with a boy to, but what about your wedding song or your like relationship song?
Okay, so my wedding was planned in a very, very short amount of time in a
Mm-hmm.
place where I didn't live. And so we didn't really have a big reception. We did get married in a church. It was nice. But the song that makes me think of the beginning of my relationship is the song Motorcycle Drive by Third Eye Blind, because my husband and I just remember us driving on the interstate. And he had this mix CD, and he had bought a mix CD from somewhere. It was like a store-bought mix CD. I don't know that was a thing. Um, but it's just it's not a happy song or a good romantic song, but it just reminds me of us being young and being together and so like head over heels for each other. It was right after we got married, and just listening to that song, I actually have the lyrics of it framed in my bedroom. My husband got me a printout of the lyrics with like a little woman on a motorcycle. It's really cute.
That's so sweet.
Yeah,
What are like some of your favorite lyrics from it?
um there's one part that I always felt like it just really stood out, and it was like visions of you on a motorcycle drive by, the cigarette ash flies in your eyes, and you don't mind. You smile and say the world it doesn't fit with you, but I don't believe you. You're so serene. And it's
Hmm.
just so cute, and it's kind of about two people that know they can't be together, so it's not a great relationship song, but just that
Mm-hmm.
time in my life, it takes me back every time I hear it, and I love it.
Right. And you can't choose what songs touch you, you know,
Yeah, or
or what they mean to you.
yeah, because there's songs that will give me sense memories of random things, and I'm like, oh, I remember a friend that I had in elementary school. I remember her and my mom's van and listening to Jumper by Third Eye Blind. So that's really weird. But every time I hear that song, I think of her. You know who it is with all the
Mm-hmm.
siblings. Yeah, so it takes you back, and I love that. What was your wedding song?
Ours
Or,
is not that unique. I think a lot of people used this one, and we didn't have a big wedding either. I wanted to elope. My husband wanted his family there, so we met in the middle and had just a small ceremony in the park with family. And when we got home, I had been busting my ass for months. I was like, I really want you to carry me over the threshold. And he did. And it was so sweet and set me down in the living room and we danced there together. And I wanted to record it and I forgot to press record. So it's really just a memory between us now. But I also think that's really sweet. But it's Never Stop by Safety Suit. And the lyrics are just about how, as you love somebody and grow with somebody, like you keep making the choice to be together. One of the lyrics is, I'll never stop choosing you, babe. I'll never stop holding your hand. I'll never stop opening your door. And that's how we both look at each other. Like we know we are choosing to have this marriage and to water our love flower. So we love that song, and I actually got one of the lyrics, You Are My Life, engraved in my wedding band.
oh, that's so sweet. I love it.
Yeah.
Special engravings and things.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much when they're, I think it has to mean something to both people, not when it's somebody just gives somebody something that's engraved.
Like Harry Potter, Ron's gift from Lavender
Yes.
with
Yes.
bracelet. Oh, makes me think of Friends too. Because there's an episode where Joey gets Chandler a gold bracelet that's engraved with, I can't remember what it says, best friends or something like that,
Oh,
to pay him
Joey.
back for all the support over the years.
Oh,
Classic.
yes.
So you
What
wanted
was,
to tell us
oh,
about some of the best-selling albums of all time?
yes. Well, I looked up some best-selling albums. I only wrote the ones down that are genres we like, albums we know and appreciate,
Mm-hmm.
because there are some great albums out there that are not for me. The best-selling album of all time, though, Thriller, Michael Jackson.
Really?
Yes,
How many?
70 million units.
Wow. That
Yes.
doesn't seem like that much, but I know that it is because when an album sells 1 million, that's a huge deal, right?
Yeah, I think when it sells a million, that's gold. And then, no, I don't
Platinum?
actually. I think it might be platinum at 1 million.
Yeah, and I think 100,000 is gold.
Yes, because I also have Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, and that sold 40 million.
Wow.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Tied with Shania Twain, Come On Over. Which I did write that one down because I feel like that was a big song when we were growing up, but I definitely think Rumors is a better album.
I know. I'm surprised they were tied, but Shania was really huge in her day.
Yeah, and I think she's going on tour now.
Yeah, she's still working.
Yeah.
I think she's even
And
doing some acting.
yeah, a lot of country actors are because I watched that show. I think it's called 1887, 1886, 1880 something. Tim
Yes.
McGraw and his wife are in it, and she's a country
Mm-hmm.
singer too. So it was actually a pretty good show.
My
I didn't like.
husband really liked it.
I was gonna say I don't like Yellowstone, which is kind of based on. It's like the prequel,
Mm-hmm.
but that one is good.
I've never watched them, but my husband has seen all of Yellowstone and the 18 whatever. So I've seen bits and pieces and it looks dramatic. Like it does look like one I would enjoy if I sat down to watch it. But as we talked about last week, I don't have the time. I have enough stuff to watch.
Yeah, you gotta catch up on all those H3 podcasts.
Yes. And gosh, I still need to finish Game of Thrones, even though I know how it ends, but I stopped mid season 4.
It is good. I liked it. I didn't really care how it ended though. I mean,
Right.
I don't
I know.
care. It ended like that. That I can't change it if I'm mad at.
Yep.
But that's kind of my thing with life. Like I'm not trying to get too worked up over things I can't change that aren't really a part of my life.
Right. Were there any other interesting best-selling albums?
One, because I love this album, Jagged Little Pill by Alanis Morissette, 33 million.
She deserves everyone. That is a
Yes,
very good album.
my mom had that album and we were poor.
Mm-hmm.
So if my mom spent the money on that CD, like
Right?
it's one of those albums where I can listen to almost if not every song on it.
I agree. And we did many times.
Yes. Oh, love it. It's such a good
That
album.
is a good list. I think I have all of those albums, and if I don't, I would buy them.
Yeah, I would listen to all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not so much Shania Twain besides the Come On Over song, but
Well, and I wonder if that one had Still the One on it.
I think it did because I think she actually had quite a few singles from that
Mm-hmm.
album
Yeah,
that were really big at that time.
that's
Because
because
I
that's
think,
a really good song. I would have bought the CD just for that song back then.
yes.
All right, we're going to take a little break and we'll be right back after a fun fact with Lily.
It's Fun Facts with Lily.
Did you know that Wannabe by the Spice Girls is the catchiest song of all time? In 2014, a group of researchers from the Museum of Science and Industry in England released an online test called Hooked on Music. It contained 1,000 clips from pop songs going all the way back to the 40s, and it asked 12,000 participants to identify songs as fast as possible. They found that Wannabe by the Spice Girls was the catchiest song. People were able to recognize it in about 2.3 seconds, which is way below the 5-second average of identifying other popular songs.
As we were thinking about the music we wanted to talk about and doing our research, it was really hard to talk about music without coming over some conspiracy theories. And we thought it would be fun if we each took a conspiracy theory based in the music world and talked about it a little bit. And we did want to say that these conspiracy theories are just for entertainment purposes. We came across them a lot in our research. We thought they were very interesting, but we mean no ill will or disrespect to anyone mentioned or to hurt any businesses or other associations mentioned. So, with peace and love, enjoy.
Yes. So, what is one conspiracy that you believe may be real?
Okay, so I had a lot of fun researching this one, but I also feel like I went way too deep, and I'm going to try not to talk about it too much. But Andrew WK conspiracy. If you don't know who he is, that is okay. I didn't either until 2021, even though he's been on the scene since the year 2000. Um, I've told you before, I have a huge crush on Kat Dennings. I'm happily married, been with my husband for 10 years, but I've been in love with Kat Dennings for 15 years. Since 2008, when I saw her in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlists, and I just fell in love. She's beautiful and funny and smart. She loves cats and books, and I just feel like we would hit it off. So I've followed her for years and years. And in 2021, she started posting pictures with this pretty handsome guy. And a few weeks later, they announced that they were engaged. So of course I had to look him up. He goes by Andrew WK, and he's apparently not apparently, he's a pretty popular metal rock star. And if you think you've never heard his stuff, you have. His most one of his most popular songs that came out on either his first or second album is Party Hard. So you've probably heard it in lots of movies. Let's get a party going, let's get a party going. People like to party and they party hard. Have you heard that song?
Probably.
We
I would
can't
have to
play it
agree.
for copyright reasons, but I was surprised that I had heard many of his songs. He did a lot of music on the Jackass film, and the Jackass crew was even in one of his music videos for the soundtrack, and he was very popular. And this conspiracy is very interesting because it has multiple layers. So the overall conspiracy is that Andrew WK was not a real metal musician. He answered in an ad in like 1999 for a group who was looking for, call it head, like a stage man. What do you call like the
A
lead of
front
it, to
man?
be the lead of a band? So the rumor is that he was like manufactured to be this rock star who would play these songs that were already created and people knew would be popular, but they didn't want their name attached to it. And another conspiracy is that he's a hired actor and they actually even replaced him in 2005. Now, I have looked at pictures. I will send you a picture right now. The first one is from his first album that came out, and he does have a real bloody nose in it. He looks really metal. And the picture next to it is him pretty recently. So I think it looks like the same person. He's obviously just aged. And I think in some of his earlier photo shoots that were like taken in 1999 and 2000, they just photoshopped it so much that he looks like he has darker features. So I don't believe the conspiracy that he's been switched, but I do believe that he was a manufactured artist who never actually meant to be in a band. So I'll tell you a little bit about him. He's 43. He was born in California, but his family moved to Michigan shortly after, and that's where he was raised. He began playing piano at age 4, and he said he immediately took to it. He just loved the way it made him feel and being able to listen to all this complex music and stuff. So he's always been a very good keyboard and piano player, but he didn't want to be a musician. When he graduated high school, he was offered like a full ride scholarship to this really prestigious art college in Chicago. And he turned it down to move to New York instead to pursue his passions. But he did not want to be a musician. His goal was to be a fashion designer. And he had actually written to this big fashion house that I cannot pronounce the name of, Comme des Garçons. I don't know, I don't speak French. He wrote to them when he was in high school saying
Garçon is
he,
boy.
what?
Garcon is boy.
Oh, interesting. I did not know
So
that.
I I've been doing Duolingo.
Good for you.
Um,
But he wrote to them when he was in high school saying that he really wanted to work for them. And they actually wrote him back and said, when you turn 18, come see us. So that's what he did. He moved to New York. He only worked there 2 months, but he ended up having, I don't know what went wrong, but he ended up having all these other weird jobs just trying to get by in New York. So people say this is when he answered the audition to become the lead man in a band. He claims that he was in bands in high school. I found absolutely no evidence of it. None. I could not find one person who said, yeah, I was in a band with him in high school. I couldn't find any pictures. I couldn't even find pictures of him as a child except for one. But I did find a whole portfolio of modeling photos from 1999 and 2000. He was trying to be a model. And I will send you some and you tell me if this looks like a metal rocker to you.
I
So,
was gonna say I can see differences in the picture of when he was younger with the bloody nose versus now. But that picture of him back then looks so photoshopped that it almost
mhm,
looks AI.
right. Yeah. In that, yeah, it does.
Because I can see similarities because I'm like, oh, the eyebrow shape is different. The eye shape is his eyes are a little further back, but that could also be age.
Right. That's what I think. I think he just aged. I do think it's the same person, but I do think there is strong evidence that he was hired to be this performer.
Oh yeah,
So he came out in 2000 after signing a record deal, and his record went off the charts. He was immediately popular, but he can't even, and people were talking about how it's cool that he put piano in this song because piano's not normally in metal. And he straight up said in an interview, well, I knew the keyboard was always going to be part of my music because it's the only thing I could play. What heavy metal musician cannot play the guitar or the bass or the drums? That was red flag number one to me. So I started looking into more of his videos. I watched him on SNL and it looked like he was lip syncing and it looked like he was pretending to play the guitar. I'm like, okay, well, I remember the Ashley Simpson fiasco. Obviously, sometimes people do lip sync on SNL. So I looked up other live concerts and I specifically looked for ones where it was just people's cell phones, like where they had taken it from the crowd of him playing, not something that him or his people had released. And in his songs, he would come out on stage. He has this big band. He has a bassist, a guitarist, a drummer, and backup singers. So he comes out on stage and he'll play the guitar for about 30 seconds, if that. Then he puts it down, and the rest of the concert, he's just jumping around. He has a lot of energy. He is a performer, but a lot of times he's not even singing. You can tell he sing talks something like, let's get the party going, and then he shows it to the crowd, but they're still singing and his lips aren't moving, and all his backup singers are singing so much that I couldn't tell who was singing. So I'm like, what if he's not a good singer? And he obviously can't play guitar. So I'm like, okay, this is already adding up. And then you bring Steve Mike into it. So in 2004, Andrew WK's website was hacked for blackmail. Somebody by the name Steve Mike was saying that they were essential into helping create him and they wanted credit on his third album. And you can see on his first two, Steve Mike, and Steve is spelled Steev, which is, not the usual spelling, is credited as a producer. So people have been speculating about this for years. Who is Steve Mike? What are they doing with Andrew WK? And some people believe it's Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters and who was also the drummer in Nirvana. They think that he had all these songs written already that didn't go with his genre, but he knew they would be popular and he wanted to hire someone to sing them. So that's the biggest theory, but other people say it might be a group of people. And I actually saw an interview with Larry King, which what was Andrew WK doing on Larry King? I don't know. But Larry King even asked him, who is Steve Mike? And Andrew WK's answer was that it's a group of people who helped him in the beginning to get started in his early stages, and that Steve Mike is a collective name they used. So it's the closest he ever got to admitting basically that maybe he did get hired to be like a heavy metal Milli Vanilli. um, but yeah, that was pretty much the most damning evidence I found was that it doesn't look like he can actually play an instrument besides the piano. I do believe he can play the piano, but most of his concerts are just him jumping around the stage. And he always wears a white shirt and white pants, always. And he's been around since 2000. He's still doing concerts. So 20 years of wearing the same outfit seems very performative to me, very purposefully weird.
Yeah.
And Larry King even straight up said, there's one person who can dispel these rumors really easily. Why doesn't your dad just come out and say, yes, this is my son, Andrew? Like, he's been Andrew his whole life. He's a real person. And Andrew just skirted around it. He said, oh, well, my dad's probably in the bathroom right now, or we could bring him out here and ask him. And Larry King says again, well, why hasn't he just done that? And Andrew says, oh, well, I think he just doesn't like to get involved with this kind of thing. But I'm like, that's a good point. Like I told you, I couldn't find any childhood pictures or anybody saying they grew up with him. And maybe his name isn't even Andrew. Like maybe he really is this actor who was hired to play this role and they didn't know how popular it was going to get. Thoughts?
That's crazy because the pictures that you sent me of the modeling, he does look like a late 1990s, 1999 Calvin Klein model-esque.
Yeah.
It's very polished, it's very, pretty.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't look like a rocker.
No.
And then he says he can only play the piano,
Yes.
and then he comes out playing the guitar and not for very long.
Right. Like, did they teach him, okay, we're going to teach you 3 bars. You're going to play them for 30 seconds, and then you just get to put it down and jump around the stage. Like, I could learn how to do that.
Yeah. I don't, I mean, I'm not saying anyone can be good at the guitar, but anyone can learn.
Yes.
You have to practice and become good, but if your image and you're already famous, you don't really need to get good because you already have a fan following.
Right. And we know how hard it is to get into the music, into a popular music career. So what are the odds that he went from selling gumball machines 1 month to literally 6 months later having a #1 EP released?
And having Jackass was huge.
It was.
Having Jackass in your music video,
Right. Oh,
I feel
it was big. And he was immediately popular. It's
I
not
feel
like
like
he
it
had to work his way up to it. He was immediately popular.
I feel like it has to be orchestrated if celebrities, which some people could argue that Jackass aren't real celebrities. They are. They were
Mm-hmm.
on MTV, the same people listening to metal music. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it had to be orchestrated if they had them, you know, so intertwined so
Right.
fast because you don't just get famous and then get to meet Lizzo
Right. Right. And
or
this was when the Jackass movie came out, so they were already really popular.
yeah,
That's a good point. Yeah, I'm gonna send you that music video too if you want to watch it.
I will.
Because they're all in it and they look so young.
I love Jackass. We
I
talked about
know.
it. That's crazy, but it's not that uncommon because they used to
Mm-mm.
have shows called like Making the Band.
Right.
It, but I think it's shady when you try to hide it.
I agree. I can't remember if it was the interview I watched because I watched so many in the past 24 hours. But there was another one where someone from MTV, I think it was MTV Canada, was straight up asking him, who is Steve Mike? Like, what's going on here? And he said, there's things I can't say. There's contracts I signed about, my origin that I'm not allowed to talk about. And this was years ago. So I'm not saying he's not a real person. Obviously, he's a real person. Maybe his name actually is Andrew. Um, and now like he's got his gig down, like he does what he does, and he obviously does it well enough to still have fans. And he also does motivational speaking, and he seems like a really cool, down to earth person. So I'm sure he's existing beyond his music career, but that doesn't mean he wasn't answering a call for an actor.
And why can't you just, why would he still keep it a secret 20 years later? He has fans.
Well, because people are still talking about it.
Oh,
Maybe it's just, part of the publicity, keep them wondering. And there are fans who probably would be pissed off if they knew he's pretending to play the guitar. But
yeah.
I'm serious. Listeners, just look for Andrew WK live and tell me. But yeah, so that was mine. So I'm watching you, Andrew. You better be good to Kat or else. I think they are really cute together. And I think he's very handsome too. But
Yeah, he's attractive.
he's got big arms.
That's important. We
All
will
right.
not go
What
back
was
on
you
that.
what?
I said that's important and we will not go back on that
Heck
stance.
no. What's your conspiracy theory?
Okay, I am going to put a trigger warning in front of this because I am going to talk about Kurt Cobain.
Okay.
And so this is going to involve suicide and possibly murder.
Dun
Have
dun
you
dun.
have you ever heard that Kurt Cobain was possibly murdered and it was staged to look like a suicide?
I have, and I remember reading something about like because of the shotgun, he would have had to pull the trigger with his toe or something.
Yes, and also there were no fingerprints found on the shotgun.
Oh, tell me more.
So he was found dead April 8th, 1994, in his home in Seattle. The police released a statement saying they believed it was a suicide. They investigated, closed it that it was a suicide. But there are some things that I just can't, that make me believe that it wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is that his toxicology report, the toxicologist said that there was enough heroin in him to kill a person 3 times over. So they have theorized that he was doing drugs with somebody because it is known that he was into substances, that he did heroin on his own accord. Also, he had Valium in his system, and that they think somebody injected him with more than he had injected himself with.
Maybe so they could move him and then shoot him.
Yes. They have also
Whoa.
had handwriting analysis on his suicide note that part of it was written by him. And fans and private investigators have theorized that it was a letter to his fans because he had pulled out of a music festival. So he was writing down his thoughts to his fans to share. Because the last 4 lines are not in his handwriting.
Whoa. So maybe it wasn't a suicide note that he was writing. Maybe it was just a letter.
Yeah, like, it could have been like a diary entry or something that would have been published on their website because I do believe
Mm-hmm.
in 1994 Nirvana would have had a website, or if not,
Mm-hmm.
they published things anyway in magazines and
Mm-hmm.
newspapers. It could have, he could have written it just explaining to his fans, like, this is where I'm at, I care about you,
Yeah, and
things.
he wrote a lot. I've seen some of his notebooks. And I remember even buying my brother um, some of the notebooks that had been published, and he wrote everything. There was recipes in it, there was lyrics, there was poetry, there was just random thoughts. So it wouldn't be unheard of that if he was planning on making a statement, he would have been writing what he wants to say.
Here comes my next point. It says his credit card was used after his death.
I've never heard that.
Yes, so it said this is a quote from unsolved.com. From private investigator Tom Grant said there was an attempt made on April 6th. There was another attempt made on April 8th. Kurt had died sometime on April 5th, the previous Tuesday. Who was using the credit card? Because they found his wallet, his ID, and other cards on him when he died, but one of his credit cards was used after his death.
Do they know what was bought?
It doesn't say. I don't think that because it says an attempt. I don't know if somebody had it got denied and then they weren't able to track it, but they've never been able to track down who tried to use it.
Probably Courtney.
which she which this is another thing. She had hired a private investigator to find Kurt at the time of his death, but not talk to him, just let her know that he had been found.
What?
Yes.
Like he was missing and she didn't know where he was?
Supposedly, that's what she said, is that he had been on tour, he had been in Europe, and he was rushed to the hospital for an accidental overdose, and then he came back and he did not see her. He went to his home in Seattle. And so she hired a private investigator to find him, but not make contact with him.
Do you know who found his body?
It was an electrician doing work on the property.
Wow,
And
that's
then,
fishy.
yes, and it says his blood contained 1.52 milligrams per liter of the tranquilizer diazepam, which is Valium, and heroin.
I've
So
never done heroin, but I would imagine if you're that high, it would be hard to even go get your gun and like set it and write a note. Like, that's a lot of steps to get to the end goal when you're that high.
exactly, because even if a pain pill that you've gotten from the dentist or the doctor for anything, that's not even a, a percentage of how powerful heroin is. I've
Mm-hmm.
never done it either, but I've read about it. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
intervention, but also says police found no legible fingerprints on the shotgun shells, or the pen used to write the suicide note.
That's so weird. Like, that would never happen in real life. You can't wipe fingerprints off something after you're dead.
Yes, but Seattle Police Department sergeant tried to debunk it and say that it's clear that anyone who is familiar with firearms, that they would know that they frequently hold the weapon, that it's frequently moved around in your hand. The weapon, when it's fired, it jerks, which causes it to move and it could smear. I don't really buy that, just
There would still be
because
partials.
yes, they would be able to find something, like, because if it's just, you would have to like rub your whole palm up and down the whole thing to smudge all the fingerprints.
And even that, they can get a print from your palm.
Yeah, they can get fingerprints from, you know, any part of your hand.
I've seen investigators get fingerprints off of a body, even.
Yes, there's so many things that they can get, but
Wow.
they didn't, and they just tried to say, well, if you know anything about it, you would know that this happens. I think that's a little patronizing.
Yeah. Did any of your research say if there was a life insurance policy,
No, but his estate,
which would go to his daughter and who was
yeah,
taking care of his daughter, Courtney?
yes. So I don't want to say that Courtney Love did it because I
No.
don't know, but or I don't think she actually did it. I don't know if she
No.
had it contracted for somebody to do it. She could have. I've watched a documentary where people seem to think so, but also I do believe he was not alone when he was shot.
Oh, definitely not. And it could have been like someone in the industry because he was getting sick of the fame and everything that came with it and was planning on leaving, is what some people think. And, dead, they could still sell his music and he would become an immortal martyr. But if he was leaving the band or leaving the record label, and he would still be free to have other creative endeavors, that's taking money away from them. And that's a motive as well.
Yeah, because he didn't want to perform anymore. It wasn't making him happy. It was contributing to his drug use.
Right?
And if he were alive, they wouldn't be able to use his music, use his likeness.
Mm-hmm. Right? Because he would have fought against it. Could it also have been someone who gave him the heroin or was doing it with him? And maybe Kurt actually did OD and the person with him freaked out and was like, well, he's already dead. I might as well make it look like a suicide so I don't get in trouble.
I
Maybe
don't
that's
know.
far-fetched.
No, because I just feel like if he would have just overdosed, it would have looked less suspicious than him being shot. Because
Yeah,
he had
true.
recently been treated for an accidental overdose in Europe.
Well, that makes me sad for Kurt Cobain if it is true, and I hope if someone else is responsible that he will get justice someday.
Yes, and I do believe that even though it happened almost 30 years ago, that it could happen justice because, I watch a lot of true crime, forensic files. They solve
Mm-hmm.
things from
Mm-hmm.
so long ago. Kurt was great. It was a little bit before our time, but honestly, a legend nonetheless. I like Nirvana, even though grunge isn't really my thing, but Nirvana is my thing.
Yeah, I lived in Seattle and I know it's sacrilegious, but I'm not gonna pretend to like Nirvana just because Kurt Cobain died. I know he had some great songs. I maybe like one. I've been to his childhood house.
Yeah. The only time I have ever been in Aberdeen, where Kurt Cobain is from, was to go to the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty dreary.
Yeah.
So Clover, if you could see any three artists, e- either even if they're dead, past, not singing anymore, present, who would it be?
Oh shit. See, when I made my list, I was thinking my bucket list of people I still could see. But now that you say alive or dead, that's a whole other thing. Hmm. Now I might have to change one of mine. Do you want to start with yours?
Yes, I will start and say if I could see anyone, it would be if One Direction did a reunion tour. I would pay a lot of money because it would bring me so much joy and the experience of it would be so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more iconic than the best song ever.
Oh, that's totally our going out song.
It is, and it reminds me of us together. I love it, but One Direction, even if it's not with Zayn, and not because I don't like Zayn, but because I know Zayn is a very private person, and that
Mm-hmm.
probably wouldn't make him happy. Even if it were the other four guys, like it was at the end, I would still go.
Well, I do hope that as Zayn grows more and heals more, that maybe he would miss this and be able to deal with a comeback tour and actually have fun with it. So I think it could happen. But I
I
also think it's interesting to tell our listeners and viewers that you weren't a childhood One Direction fan. You weren't even a One Direction fan 5 years ago.
No, I got into One Direction during the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
and that is 5 years after they broke up.
What do you feel like started it?
I saw a clip of something that was an interview and I fell down a rabbit hole and
Ah,
I could not stop. I fell in love with them. I fell in love with their solo careers. I've bought Liam's solo album, Niall's solo albums, Louis' solo albums. I have I bought Louis' albums digitally and on vinyl, and same with Harry's and Niall's second album I bought on vinyl.
I think people who don't get it just look at them like, oh, they're a boy band, like commercial boy band. But no, they did record-breaking things and they went through a lot with their crazy fan base that makes me feel really bad for them. But they're artists and they had amazing music and a lot of them are still making amazing music. I love
Yes,
Harry Styles.
yes, and even if they started as a commercial boy band, because let's face it, that's what Simon Cowell does, they created something so much more. They are the only people that have charted #1 in the US and the UK besides the Beatles. So
Yeah,
if
I think they'll get more credit as time passes too. The credit they
yes,
deserve.
yes. And I do remember when they first got big, I bought some plastic cups, one with Niall, one with Liam, for me and my friend to drink wine out of because I
Mm-hmm.
thought it was funny because we're like married ladies with kids and we're gonna drink wine out of, these boy band cups. But, you know, the t the tables have turned on me and I am a big 1D stan. I have a baby cousin and we bond over our love of Harry and One Direction and Louis all the time, and it would mean so much if they went on a reunion tour and I got to go with my baby cousin.
Oh, I feel like it can happen, and I hope it does someday. When you say there's someone you would pay a lot of money for to see, the people who come to my mind, first it would be Stevie Nicks because she's my queen, but I've already seen her, so I didn't even put her on my list because I can die happy now that I've been in her presence. But next would be Queen. Obviously, Freddie Mercury isn't around anymore, but Adam Lambert is their lead singer now, and they still do tours. And if I'm ever lucky enough to be close enough to see them, I will pay whatever money I can. I will sit outside the fucking gate if I have to and hear them because Adam Lambert, when I hear him sing, it's not like he's trying to be Freddie Mercury. I mean, I hear Freddie Mercury sing and it gives me chills, but I get the same feeling from Adam Lambert. They just like both sing from their soul in a way that makes my skin prickle, and I would love to see it live.
And I think that's important that he doesn't try to be someone as iconic as
Mm-hmm.
Freddie Mercury because Adam Lambert is also iconic in
Yes.
his own way that's different from Freddie, but he doesn't have to try to be anyone but himself because he was
Yes.
even iconic on Glee.
Yeah. Yep. And I think if he would have been on American Idol 10 years later, he would have won. But think him being gay back then, people were still so secretly homophobic.
Yes, I do believe that.
And I think Adam Lambert is so underrated for how talented he is. I I need to get on TikTok. When I followed him on TikTok, I was appalled by how few followers he had compared to what he deserves.
He
He
does.
has less than 700,000 followers on TikTok. And that man could probably break a wine glass with his voice. So go follow him. Give him some love on TikTok.
And he was on RuPaul's Drag Race
Mm-hmm.
as a guest judge. And if we ever talk about that anybody that has been on, I will mention it because I have in the past. I will continue to do so. I think that is so cool and iconic, even more iconic than he already is to be on
Yes.
that show.
I think next year we should make a compilation video of all the times we mention RuPaul's Drag Race.
I know when you mentioned how Andrew WK was on Larry King, I was like, so was Trixie Mattel.
That's so funny. I always thought of him doing like news, like
Yeah,
interviewing Patsy Ramsey, not Andrew WK and Trixie.
I know. He's kind of like Barbara Walters now.
Oh, RIP.
Yes.
How did he outlive Barbara? That just ain't right.
He looks
He's
like
on
he's
marriage, what, number 7?
he looks like he's 1 foot in the grave.
True. What's next on your bucket list?
On my bucket list, we've already talked about him a little bit. I would love to see Lil Wayne. I know he
Mm-hmm.
still performs, but it's usually only in Louisiana or Hollywood. I don't live
Ooh.
close to either of those places, but I would travel to see him
We could totally do a New Orleans girl trip.
because I want to go to New Orleans. That's on my bucket list as a
Yes.
whole because I've never been to New Orleans. I don't typically enjoy the South, but I feel like New Orleans is different than going to Georgia because
N-
the
No
vibe.
offense to our Georgians.
Yeah. I just
Atlanta
don't
would
have
be fun.
yeah, I was in a very deep, deep South part of the South when I went. New Orleans, any of it would be fun.
I would love to go to New Orleans together and Lil Wayne concert, the energy would be so hyped. Like you know me, I'm not really into sports. I do not watch them on TV, but I love going to sporting events like hockey games, baseball games. I haven't been to an NFL game yet, but I really want to because the energy is so good.
I know. I remember going to my first high school basketball game, and the
Yes.
energy was so much fun
Mm-hmm.
that we were we were up all night because it was just so much. I mean, we went back home and we were up all night
Mm-hmm.
at home. Like we weren't going out and doing anything. We were freshmen, but it was it was so fun. The energy and just seeing him in person and everything he's been through and how talented I think he is, it would just be so cool to see him.
My next one was kind of hard to choose because I have two I really like, but I would love to see Adele. And if she comes back to Vegas, I feel like we actually have a shot. She has one
Yes.
of those, I love strong singers, especially strong female singers. And she just has one of those voices that tells a story. Like when she sings, I feel it in my bones.
Me too.
And I think
Take
to see her live, it would be so pretty. I would probably just cry at its beauty.
I love Adele. She is on my main bucket list, not my top 3 bucket
Mm-hmm.
list, but I would love to see her. I love British people.
Yeah,
I know that's like I don't know if that's fetishizing or whatever, but I appreciate so many, people from the UK that, when another one comes out, I'm like, of course they are. They're so amazing. So
they are our
I,
cousins.
yes,
And
that
it's
we
the
run away from.
accents.
It is, I remember growing up, we were gonna marry the princes. You were gonna marry William, and I was gonna marry Harry.
Little did I know you were getting the good end of that deal.
I
How the
know.
tables have turned.
I mean, William still gets to be king, but but Harry is a lot better looking.
He is, and he just seems like more well-rounded and probably a
Adjusted.
better husband.
Yeah, I think so because he's not worried about
Being
breaking
perfect.
protocol, yeah, or
Hmm.
even pretending to be perfect. And that's hard to even just put on a facade.
I agree. I could listen to Adele read me the TV guide.
She's so funny too.
Yeah.
I bet she'd talk to the audience and it would just be hilarious because she has so much personality and her TikToks are funny and I love her.
Me too.
And so my last big 3 bucket list, we actually are gonna see him. We're going to Ed Sheeran this summer.
Yay! I'm so
And
excited. Doesn't even feel
and
real.
I know. It was my one of my Christmas presents from my husband for us because he did not want to go with me. So he
I'm
got me
happy
tickets.
to step in.
Yes, and I feel like especially this tour, which is like all the albums, all the greatest, it's going to be so amazing.
It is.
His concerts are held on NFL stadium fields, and so you're going to get 60, 70,000 people wanting to be there enjoying what's going on.
Crazy. We better get a hotel soon, like really close,
Yes,
because there's gonna be so many cars. It wouldn't even be worth it to Uber.
I know. I did that when we went to Louis because of it was February and it
Mm-hmm.
was cold when we went, but we were in the Uber for so long and it was only like point 0.9 miles from our
Oh
hotel.
no.
I was like, it wasn't that expensive though. So
No,
luckily, yeah,
not
I think
like
it
a
was
taxi where it's running.
no. Yes, but I'm so excited that my first concert was with you, my next concert is with you, and it's somebody that we both really love because I know we don't always like the same music.
Mm-hmm.
I like a lot of music I listen to is really nasty and rowdy, and that's not your vibe, but I love listening to club tunes and like nasty ones and
Mm-hmm.
nasty rap music, and this is something we both love, and I'm excited that I get to experience it with you, and it's going to be way better than the singer on the cruise ship that did Ed Sheeran.
It better be.
Well, just the fact that it's Ed Sheeran, and I just have to mention, I love the music video for Lego House. I know it's 10 years old. I don't care. I'm going to watch it all the time for the rest of my life
Heck
because
yes.
it's so good, and Rupert Grint is in it.
Yes. Hilarious. Oh, I love kings with senses of humor.
Yes. It's oh, I won't even get started on how funny it is just because of who they are and what people say. But who is your last one?
Well, Ed Sheeran definitely would be my third. Um, but I figured you were going to say him, and since we are going to see him, I can cross him off the list soon. So it was really hard to choose between Lizzo and Bruno Mars because Lizzo is a queen. I love her, look up to her, admire her. So talented. But if someone were holding out the tickets to me right now, I would probably take Bruno Mars because he has albums that I listen to over and over, every song, love it. And kind of like Lil Wayne, I just think the energy at his concert would be so amazing. The way he dances, the type of music he uses. I like kind of old school hip hop and funk, and a lot of the people I listen to are older generation. I just think Bruno Mars concert would be so much fun, especially have an edible or smoke first.
It would be. I feel like he's kind of fallen off in recent years, but
Mm-hmm.
he was so iconic in the 2010s.
And I love it. I love it when great artists start to not be so popular because that means in a few years I can see him at the casino for $50.
Yes. Except Louis Tomlinson's playing at the casino near me.
Oh,
I'm still gonna go for $50
fuck yeah.
because
I actually didn't know that when I said that.
he is way bigger in the UK, and he
Exactly.
knows that. He knows that he is not Harry. He has talked about it, like, feeling inadequate and feeling jealous. But he charted in the UK with his new album.
Mm-hmm. And it's awesome that he cares about his fans everywhere, not just the places he's going to make the most money or sell out the most seats.
Yeah, because I do think he's also very popular in South America.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing about that when you go too. And I
Yeah,
think we will get our bucket lists fulfilled.
I think so too, because all of these people are either still touring or there's a chance that they could still be touring because most of One Direction is still touring by
True.
themselves. So it's not, I think they would, I don't know. I think there's a lot of feelings and trauma and baggage, but I think that, they were really close at one time, and I think they
Hmm.
can get there again.
I do too. Yep. I think true friends can never stay apart forever.
Definitely can't.
All right. Well, I think this was a good podcast. I'm looking
I,
forward to next week.
yes, me too. We'll have to do some conversing and figure out what next week's topic's gonna be, so no spoilers yet. But doing this with you, I look forward to the future and take us out.